Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Paul Benbow, and we're getting ready to start our presentation. With me today is Tom Hassey. Tom Hassey is my counterpart in our Detroit, Michigan office. I'm Paul Benbow, Business Development Manager. And also with me today, I have Nora Blunt and Augusta Brinkley, or better known as Gusty. And they're our technical specialists, and they'll be doing the heavy lifting, doing the demonstration and things like that. So let's get started. So the webinar today, we're going to focus on just basically, how can we use the tools we have to solve the GHS, problems and actually do our, chemical management better under GHS. So we're going to, talk about a few different concepts today and a few different topics. SDS management, hazard communication, touch on inventory a little bit, reporting, a little bit on regulatory data, and then just talk a little bit about, how GHS authoring and labels, if that's part of what you need, can be accomplished. So just a few slides on who we are as Chemwatch. We're an international company, 21 offices around the globe. Asia Pacific, Europe, 3 offices in the U.S. Outside of the U.S., we're a very large player. In the U.S., we don't have the name recognition as some of our competitors, but worldwide we're the de facto standard in chemical management software. We've expanded our technical center located in Nashville, Tennessee, to better serve the U.S. market as the company grows, and we like our U.S. presence and want to expand that. Chemwatch is a large employer of chemists, toxicologists, IT specialists. We have about 250 employees worldwide. That's one of the huge differentiators between us and some of the other vendors in our space. We're a very successful company, over 25 years old. We started off authoring safety data sheets, and then we realized there was an ecosystem around safety data sheets, managing them, and then keeping up with the regulatory data that's associated with that. So we basically have evolved our product to better meet the needs of everyone that's involved in SDSs and compliance. So we sorry about that. We have over 5,000 global clients, manufacturers, aerospace, oil and gas, and so there's a lot of people that have chemicals. Everybody has chemicals, so we are able to meet their needs. Kind of some of our claims to fame is we have the world's largest SDS database, over 23 million vendor SDSs, so fully searchable. We've basically data extracted about 30 pieces of information from each one. Our claim to fame, though, and our biggest differentiators are gold SDSs. We have over 300,000 reauthored safety data sheets that our users love, and they're excellent. We have about 450 data points on each one of those, and you'll see during the demonstration today, you'll actually see how we can use our gold data to do a lot of really powerful things with our system. We also keep a chemical regulation database, so anything international regulatory database, what is the regulatory information for this product if it's in this country, I've got something in France, I've got something in Germany, our system can tell you that instantly. And then of course our GHS classification database to help you author safety data sheets. We as a company author about 1,000 SDSs a month, but our software tools author thousands of SDSs every month. So they are able to grab our pure substances and just basically drop them right in. And you can also author or create a label or create a mixture from any of the gold database, gold SDSs or the pures. So you could take something like I'm mixing WD-40 with something, and you can actually bring that right in if it's a gold SDS and actually use that as a mixture to create a label. So it's a very powerful part of our solution, and we'll be showing that later today as well. So we have an interesting mix of employees because we do employ chemists, toxologists, hygienists, regulatory experts, physicians, and our solution is software as a service base, so it's very minimal IT required. Makes it great because you don't really need your IT department to do anything. They don't need to install any software. You just basically use your web browser, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, We also have Android and iPhone apps, so getting to our data via the cloud, it makes it really easy. And cloud has a nice feature in that, accessibility of data via various devices is quite easy. And that's why, cloud has become so popular. And, we went cloud early on because we knew that was the future. Everything we have is on .NET, so it's very easy to plug into our data. And everything is in plug-and-play modules. So everything you see today, if you say, I just want this one module, we could turn on that one, or you may want a suite of modules. We offer 47 languages, so if you have remote locations or you need to work with people in other countries, maybe you want to expand your offering, I want to export my product to France or somewhere, we can basically convert the language, convert the SDS, and put a phone number on the SDS for people to call up that will be answered by one of our representatives, and they'll answer in French. So we offer that service as part of our authoring, part of our suite of solutions. A little bit of an eye chart, sorry about that, but basically down the left-hand side is what people need to do, and across the top is our products or our bundles. And sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect because people see a name and they're not sure what that does. So Backpack is our basic vendor management, all the way up to Chemwatch, which does, many things. So inventory management, regulatory database. If you just want to do risk assessment, we have a module that just does that. Smart Suite is our mobile app. DGen is our label generator. Gallery is our database. And Authorite is our SDS authoring tool. And a lot of times, we talk about our products, but one popular use of our product is just to grab our data. So, via our exporting tools or, even writing a small little app leveraging our API, you can integrate our rich data and our processes into your existing applications quite easily. So we've actually had a lot of demand for people that just want to say, can we just do a call to your information in the cloud? We'll integrate it into our existing website because we don't want to retrain people perhaps. And we just want to have this information, but have it be seamlessly integrated into what we already have. It's been really popular lately, so I did want to mention that because sometimes we kind of gloss over that ability, but it is a powerful part of our solution. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and hand the presentation over to Mr. Tom Hassey. So I will make Tom the presenter. Oh, never mind. I'll stay the presenter. Okay, Tom, here's your next slide.
Thanks, Paul. Can everybody hear me okay?
You're loud and clear.
Great, great. And Paul, can you go back to the previous one real quick, just to let everyone know, and I'm sure you all know this implementation of GHS is affecting all levels and aspects of chemical management in your organization. So the evolution, real quick. Prior to GHS, local regs, standards, guidelines, they differed severely from country to country. And really, for the first time globally, obligations are becoming similar. Again, as you can see, they're not harmonized, but becoming similar under this international agreement we call GHS. Intended to be uniform globally, different countries have now ended up adopting slightly different GHS interpretations. And quite frankly, this is because of GHS's own fault in the sense that it was implemented under the premise of using the building block approach, and that is to minimize undue financial stress on companies, or excuse me, regions were allowed to implement GHS's revisions according to their best interests. And unfortunately, it's led to a lot of variation globally in terms of which jurisdictions are using which version, as well as within those versions, they have the ability to omit and add different text. So because of this, we now have, this has caused a lot of challenges for companies like yourselves. However, what we'd like to talk about today is you can treat this as an opportunity. And it's never been a better time to systemize your chemical management practices. And we're going to show you a few thoughts in that area. And in other words, why is this causing you so much trouble, and why a systemic approach to chemical management will, quite frankly, at least minimize the ripples of variation that GHS is causing. In terms of SDSs and labels, well, different countries, as we just mentioned, are adopting different versions of GHSs. And the label elements have changed as well in Section 2. Some formatting differences do exist in the subsections, and each country is mandating specific languages that are acceptable. So in summation, SDSs are considered compliant if they meet standards described by different countries and regions. Obviously a lot of variance, especially if you're a global company. Labels, they're now heavily regulated under GHS, and different GHS versions do impact the label content. If you saw the changes, the revisions that is from 2015, you'll see it affected labels quite a bit in terms of size, different H phrases and P phrases, signal words. Key differences do exist in terms of ingredient disclosure. So as with SDSs, labels are also considered compliant if they meet the standards described by different countries within regions. So lots of variance. How's it affecting your substance classifications? Well, the H codes are assigned to the hazardous substances, and there's about 75 of them currently used in GHS regulation. And these are being assigned by either governments or the actual vendors of the SDS. And right now there's over 20 million substances in use, and no government can review these. And so consequently, less than 20,000 substances have been classified by governments. So the remaining 19,980,000 are left to the vendors to review mostly. So what has happened, there's a huge disagreement between substance classifications by not just governments, by vendors as well. So even our GHS, some substances are valued by different vendors. The disagreement often exceeds 50%. In fact, our studies have shown that it's rarely below 50% variance between manufacturer to manufacturer. And the next slide will talk about this. So here's our issue, and you can see what we match is vendor to vendor, we'll say, in terms of almost like a design of experiment, with the variance being in red and the number of substances underneath. So for instance, Sigma versus Merck, on the 2,960 substances that they classify independently, they disagree on over 1,720 of these. And our issue is this: an irritant is an irritant, a toxin's a toxin. These chemicals exhibit the same property and hazards, no matter who's supplying it. And there really should be no gray zone or subjectivity involved in this. And Paul mentioned earlier our gold documents. This is one of the key pieces of value with our gold SDSs that we author with our chemists, is that we're authoring it from a worker safety point of view. We're not trying to sell anything. As well as a third-party review by independent chemists with, quite frankly, no axe to grind. So mixture classifications. So we talked about substance, now we're talking about mixtures. And by definition, no substance exists in 100% proportion. That's why it's a mixture. And as you dilute these, they become less hazardous, of course. And what GHS is describing is the effect of dilution on H codes. So as an example, something that is extremely toxic at H330 becomes less at 25% and now harmful at 10%. So we call these proportions are called cutoffs. Each H code is associated with various cutoffs, and not all cutoffs are the same for different H codes. So again, the challenge is these rules vary from country to country. It depends on which GHS revision they've adopted. And these cutoff rules become very complex in mixtures that contain many substances, such as coatings and paints, as two examples. So what we're stating is use a systemic approach to look at these substances. You can't look at it from, let's say, a singular point of view. So an example would be SDSs. The traditional approach, you manually compare them, you document significant changes in formatting, frequency offerings. And what we're saying is, well, you know what, GHS harmonization is offered, the harmonized format has now created an opportunity for companies to systemize this comparison using tools. Another is the substance data. People are purchasing external libraries, paying for independent research, and having to update these substance data themselves regularly. We're saying is use a product that uses experts, say chemical scientists, where they host and manage the data. And what that means is we, as an example, we can integrate substance data libraries with other aspects of your chemical management system. So what we're saying is, sure, you can deal with GHS compliance traditionally, but as we mentioned earlier, it's affecting a wide range of wide aspects of your organization. So the systemic approach just seems to make sense. And let's see one in action. So I'd like to turn this over to Nora Ballant, our North American Customer Service Manager and demonstration extraordinaire, to show you how this thing works.
All right, thank you, Tom. All right, so as Paul and Tom have been talking about, there are all kinds of challenges with GHS, and we feel that our solution offers real solutions for those challenges. And so I'd like to kind of show you what our system looks like. I am right now showing the most complicated view that we have, but most of our clients can purchase different sets of these modules so that your screen would not have all of these modules showing at all times. But this is our full system, and what we have is we have a database full of different kinds of data sheets, safety data sheets, and I want to show you those and tell you about them. We have a database of about 23 million vendor SDSs. These are those SDSs that you get straight from a vendor when you order a product. These are stored as PDFs in our system, so you're able to search for the product in a variety of languages and countries. We have 23 million, like I said a moment ago, and that is a huge number for several reasons. First of all, we are global, so we have these SDSs in languages and countries all over the world. We also, once we get an SDS in our system, we never delete it. It's there for you to refer back to for years and years. A lot of our clients need to be able to pull up a vendor sheet from 30 years ago to say this is the one they were using at the time. So as you can see, I've searched here for acetone, and I have my filters set to United States English. And so just for United States English, you can see at the bottom of the screen, we have 330 documents for acetone in that country and language. We could search for any of our other countries and languages simply by selecting this box here and translating it into, or pulling up a different document from another country. Let me show you what one of these documents looks like. Again, these are stored as PDFs in our system, and so you are able to store the exact version that you get from a vendor, and you're able to use this for your SDS management to manage the SDSs that you have. Because we have older SDSs in our system and newer SDSs in our system, we do have MSDSs, but then as vendors are releasing their GHS compliant SDSs, we are getting those into the system just as fast as they can, as fast as we can, as fast as we get them. So we are GHS compliant with these vendor sheets as soon as possible once the vendors are GHS compliant, and most of them are by now. There are 3 different ways we get updates to our vendor sheets. One way we get updates is that we sometimes get them directly from the vendors. So as the vendors are putting out new GHS compliant SDSs, they will send them to us, or we will go and get them from the vendor. So that is one way we get updated vendor sheets. Another way we get updated vendor sheets in our system is that we have web crawlers out there scouring the internet at all times looking for updated versions of the SDSs we already have. So that's another way we're going out and getting these GHS documents as they're being created. And then the third way we get updated vendor sheets is from clients like yourself. Our clients, and one thing that differentiates us from our competitors is our clients have access to see our entire database. Every SDS that we have, our clients are able to see those and use those for their own SDS management. And that benefits us and you in several ways. It means that if you are using a product but a more current SDS comes out and somebody else receives that SDS because they ordered their chemicals more recently than you did, then that SDS that they received will be added to our system, and you'll be able to see it as well, because that's the third way we get updated vendor sheets. If you receive a chemical and it comes with an SDS that you can't find in our system because it's newer than the one we have, you can simply upload it right here from within your Chemwatch system by going to the settings button and send it to us, and we'll update it in our system, and then you can see the updated version, and so can all of our other customers. So it benefits everyone. Everybody's getting the GHS documents as soon as possible, and you also have the ability to add one to the system for free through your Chemwatch system as soon as you get one. So those are our vendor sheets, and that's a very powerful, very full collection of documents that you can use to keep your compliance. We also have gold SDSs. These SDSs are the ones that are written by our chemists, our toxicologists, and our hygienists. These are very detailed. So the vendor sheets are written by vendors who are interested in selling chemicals, and there's nothing wrong with those vendor SDSs. They are absolutely compliant and will give you the health information you need and the safety information you need. But our gold SDSs are only focused on worker safety and hazard communication. We are not trying to sell a chemical. So we devote all of our time and energy to making these documents material and chemical specific and giving you as much information as we possibly can about any particular chemical or product in our system. We have about 300,000 of these, and we write more all the time. So that's an ever-growing number, as is the 23 million number for vendor sheets. Both of those are ever-growing numbers. Our gold SDSs, this is what they look like. These always have been GHS compliant. As soon as GHS came out, we were able to very quickly get our documents GHS compliant because of the way they are built and stored. These documents are stored in a database format in our system, meaning that each one of these fields that you can see is stored separately from each other field, making it very easy for us to update them, add fields, move around the formatting, and things like that. So whenever changes come along, it's very easy for us to adapt to those changes. We have a 16-part document, which is GHS compliant. You can scroll through the document the way you would with any document on your computer, or you can jump around through the different sections of our document by using this little gray button. One place I like to take you on a demonstration is the regulatory section. So we are right now looking at a United States English GHS formatted document. So in our regulatory information, we're pulling up all of the different regulatory lists where this chemical can be found in the United States. One of the other benefits of our gold SDS is that you can change the country and language with just the click of a button. So if I change this, let's change it to another English-speaking country. Let's change it to Australia. Because this is stored in a database format, the system can rebuild the document right here in real time, and the chemical information won't change, but what will change is the document is going to now look for Australian regulations where this document can be found. And if I flip down to the regulatory section, you can see that this has changed, and it's now pulling up the regulatory list in Australia where this chemical can be found. So that is a huge benefit of our system, and that's something that no one else can do, and certainly not this quickly. Just with the click of a button, we can change the jurisdiction where this SDS is written and see the different ways that that applies in that country, in that jurisdiction. We have about 47 languages that we can pull this document up in just at the click of that button right there. Another thing we can do with this information, and actually let me scroll down and show you the H codes. This is, you can see this is a GHS compliant document. We have the hazard statements, precautionary statements down here on our document. You can change the format if you want to, just the same way we change the language. You could change it to be a local format for a revert back if you needed to see a document produced with the other, in another format. But you can see this one is GHS compliant, and because we've stored this in a database format, we can pull all of this GHS information straight onto a label. By just clicking on labels, I'm leaving the chemical the same. I can pull up a label right here on the screen, and it'll take the same chemical and fill in the fields from this GHS compliant SDS and pop it right onto a label with the GHS icons and personal protective equipment, hazard statements here, precautionary statements. I made this template. You can make any template that you'd like, and I believe that Gusty's going to show you that a little bit later about how you would make a label template. But once you make a template, you can use any document where we have a gold SDS, and you can pull that GHS compliant information straight onto your label. And you can translate this into the 47 languages as well, just with this drop-down box here. Another thing you can do with our Gold SDS data, you can produce a mini SDS. This is a one-page summary of the information on the Gold SDS. This is really useful in the case where you have a lab or a location or a room where you have to put a binder at the front of the room saying all of the chemicals that can be found there and what their hazard information is. Instead of printing off a 16-page SDS, you can print off a one-page summary with the relevant information that you would need to put outside the door about the chemicals in there. And then finally, another thing you can do with our Gold data is you can click on this middle button to get emergency reports. You can pull off first aid reports. This is written at about a 6th grade level so that anyone who is exposed to a chemical can hopefully be assisted by anyone else who's available. You can again translate these into 47 languages and you can administer these with any document we have in the system. You can print it, you can email it, or you can save it to your computer. We also have spill reports, what to do if a particular chemical spills. We have advice to a doctor. The advice to a doctor is written for an emergency room physician. So as opposed to the first aid is written for the layperson. Advice to a doctor is written for an emergency room physician. So if you have someone exposed to a chemical, you can pull up advice to a doctor, send this with them to the hospital, and get treatment started. So it'll give them kind of a starting point for how to treat the person based on what they've been exposed to. We have firefighting information, chemical incident advisory report, environmental information, standard operating procedures. All of these documents, are available for any product where we have this Gold available. So this is a very powerful tool, and it allows us to pull from these GHS compliant documents all kinds of information that you might need for hazard communication and worker safety, which is our primary goal. However, a lot of our clients are using us for the SDS management piece, which we also offer, and it's also a very powerful tool. We have folders here that you can define and set up yourself. Most of our clients set those up based on location, but you can set those up in any way that makes sense to you. I'd like to show you what you can do with these folders. Once you find the chemical you want, you can simply drag and drop it into one of these folders. And then once you have your folder filled, there are several different things you can do with that information. One thing you can do is you can filter this list of chemicals or products by any number of fields. You can sort them by specific hazards. So if you want to know which products we have in this folder that are corrosive, you can filter the list by corrosive, and it'll tell you all of the chemicals in there that would qualify. You can also sort this by SARA reporting. If you are obligated to do SARA reporting at your organization, you can sort this list to pull out just the products that would be required for SARA reporting. This, of course, is based on quantity, as SARA reporting is. The quantity that you have on hand of a particular product is partially what's going to determine how it's reported on a SARA Tier 2 report. So do know that you can enter quantities in this program. You can take your folder. I'm flipping back, trying to think while I click buttons, so sorry about my stutter there, but you can add the quantities within your folder for any of the products that you see here by just clicking on one of these buttons here on the right and entering the volume that you have. Based on these volumes, you could then filter your report for SARA chemicals that you need to report for SARA. You can also tag. You can have the system automatically filter and tag your products based on different regulatory lists. I believe that Tom and Paul mentioned that we have a database of 4,800 regulatory lists from all over the world. And I showed you a little bit of that. When I showed you the Gold SDS, you could see down in the regulatory section the different regulatory lists where a chemical can be found. Well, based on that information, we can also have the system automatically flag for you chemicals that can be found on various regulatory lists all over the world. In this this particular case, chlorine can be found on the Department of Homeland Security Chemicals of Interest list, and I have my system set up to tag that automatically so that at a glance I can see which chemicals in my folder might be regulated by any particular regulatory list around the world. So that's an overview of what our system can do, what it's based on, and what we can do with some of the GHS information that we do have right here at our fingertips. It's a very powerful system. And Tom, if you're ready, I'll pass it back to you, or Paul.
Thanks, Nora.
Would you like me to pass it back to you, Tom?
I pass it to Paul, please. He's
yeah,
our
I have it.
slide
There you
manager.
go.
Hey, great job, Nora.
All right,
Thanks for doing that. Here you go.
Yes, well done. Thank you, Paul. Thanks. Well done, Nora. So, folks, quickly, basically, what did you just see? You saw our solution. Excuse me a minute. Screen went away. You saw our solution in action, and I just want to spend a few minutes to describe some of the aspects. So what do we do different? Well, in a single package, as Paul and Nora have also mentioned, we have a global team of experts, over 170 plus chemists, toxicologists, hygienists, regulatory compliance experts. We also host and manage your data on your behalf via the cloud application. And the platform itself is host and management, and it's fully scalable. So we manage your data. It's a scalable solution, so you can add not only new documents to it, new sites, you can add new product capability as well. But any data that you have access to, your data, our chemists, our experts are looking at that data and grabbing updates daily. So our solution, our seamless solution, will help you save money by you can achieve compliance effectively. In other words, instead of the traditional approach where you have a number of people in your organization attempting to stay compliant, you can do this on one platform, one person. You can outsource some of these challenges. And outsourcing means basically having a chemical management platform do it for you. As Nora mentioned, the regulatory database library. Instead of having to buy a separate application to do that or having a third party provide that data for you, it's integrated on your platform as part of our seamless product offering. Future-proof your business basically means as chemicals are added and as GHS continually evolves, our chemists are staying up on it. Our chemical scientists are staying abreast of those changes and how it affects your substances and mixtures. And we use what we call the unified model, our SAS model. And this is a systemic approach to GHS compliance, and it allows you, for your internal challenges and external challenges, to manage these GHS-related activities. For instance, internally, the inventory management of your products. This allows you to create compliant registers, find and access your latest SDS, and easily update and store data per the site folder. And next to it, we basically put our icons in as the types of expertise we bring to play to help you do that. Our chemist experts, the fact that we're hosting and managing your data, and that we're updating that data and providing simple interfaces for you to access it. Same applies on your risk assessments, that you're going to get consistent risk outcomes because we're monitoring all these changes in GHS and how it affects worker safety. Labels, we talked about that quite a bit. GHS has profound effect on labels, especially the 2015 revisions. Same applies externally, the SDS services. We have expertise that goes out, and our chemists, our experts, 24/7 web crawling, relations with the vendors, we pull in these documents, their updates. We extract them. In other words, we pull the updated data out of them. We examine it. Our people review it. We use a quality assurance approach to the data points. Same applies on substance data. You don't have to go out and buy it or buy an expert. Our people are researching it, getting it, updating it. And especially in the regulatory world. These are regulatory compliance experts, quite frankly, in a cloud that understand these changes. They look at them from a chemical family point of view, and they keep up to date on the changes. So how it applies to specific activities you're doing, well, for instance, finding and storing SDSs, we got more data than anybody, as Nora just talked about. And the flat file end, the 23 million plus vendor SDSs, but the golds. these 300,000 plus goals. Not only are they authored by our experts, so you get an independent review of the vendor chemical, excuse me, but these are active data documents. They have live links into the regulatory database, but also our risk and hazard classification databases as well. And these are updated daily as changes occur. All goals are GHS compliant, and they're automatically updated. We also provide, as Nora mentioned, these one-page documents specific to user need in terms of PPE, tox reports, first aid reports, spill reports. The one-page mini SDSs are, a lot of our clients love using them at the operator workstation level. Put them in the SOP folder. We provide, and it's free of charge actually, as part of the license fee, the acquisition and updating service of your SDSs. So we manage the vendor data stream for you. And you're allowed with our filter views to look at different hazards and risks, and then there's a complete audit trail on these documents. And we have tracking capabilities, so when you find an SDS in your thousands, we show you where it's located. And we also have asset-based container management. So in terms of inventory, it's not driven just by materials, but we have capability of allowing you to manage your materials by the container basis. And then we have a approvals workflow that sits on top of your data and allows you to build your forms, use your logos to pull these chemicals through your process of approvals, or actually approval, or a process of use, sorry. So our GHS compliance data is, we use it for quite a bit of, you have the ability, I'm sorry, to build customized reports around this GHS compliance data. So we'll be able to print hazard registers for emergency service requirements, customized reports, XML if you want to embed it into your current system, but also spreadsheets. Or the HTML allows you to literally pass these along as web pages. And we give you essential workplace safety tools around GHS compliance. For instance, incompatibility and segregation reports. Basically, we'll show you what, and this really applies in the areas of hazardous materials. There's lots of materials that are rated, for instance, I know a few that are rated DG9 at the label level, but one's an acid and one's an alkali. You'd never store those together. We flag those for you. Same with segregation reports. These health surveillance, we talked about those. The biological monitoring, we'll show you the BEIs on the substances that are flagged. And Nora went through, Sarah, and the list of concerns, but there's a number of other health hazard filters we have in there. For instance, VOCs, show everything on my site that's embryotoxic, is just two examples. Lots of reports. We allow you to report on over 600 data points, and you do this in 93 country formats, and you can do each report in 47 languages. And it can document all your volumes. I mentioned incompatibility reports, regulatory concerns. Nora mentioned that with the tagging tool. The external reports, what's in terms of industry-specific reporting, we talked about SARA as an example. You can also do that in both Tier 2 and 302, and these are all just with the click of a mouse. And all the reports, whether internal or external, are available in 95 country formats and 47 languages. And we create a number of reports for our customers as part of their subscription. So when they sign on, so to speak, we ask them, give us the reports you're using or the ones you'd actually like to use, and we'll structure these for you. And it's a very easy tool to use. And as part of this systemic approach, you don't have to have a separate application on regulatory database data. It's part of your platform, and as Nora showed, it's actually built right into the SDS Management tool in terms of populating sections 8, 11, and 15 that are regulatory dependent, populating those automatically. So we have the world's largest regulatory database. As Nora mentioned, we have over 4,800, or excuse me, it's now 5,800 lists, but over 897,000 substances. And we track these by chemical family. And these come out of 89 countries. So you have the ability, as Nora mentioned, or showed, sorry, that at the goal of SDS level, to populate your documents automatically with this data. We also allow you on the same platform to access the description of a specific regulatory item and also show the path as to how it was created. and also be able to show you the granular data associated with that regulation. All in the same platform, just clicks of the mouse. So you saw seamless chemical management in action. We also have on the same platform the ability to author new SDSs and create labels. And Nora did show you the label tool, but we have behind the scenes, so to speak, a label creation tool that allows you to customize your labels in terms of multilingual descriptions, multiple tags, and again, you can translate these into 47 languages with the click of a mouse. So without further ado, I will turn it over to the second of our demonstrator extraordinaires, Gusty Brindley.
Thanks, Tom. Hi, everybody. I'm going to be giving you a brief demonstration on Credo, as Tom mentioned, and then also our labeling tool, as Nora mentioned earlier in the demonstration. First, I'm going to talk about Credo. So I've already actually entered into our database. Nora actually showed you many components of our home screen, but once you actually dive into some of our other modules, you'll find some new tools. Within this Credo tool, it's going to allow you to create your own SDS sheets, labels, and reports. It's as easy as entering product information and ingredients, and then within a matter of seconds you'll be able to automatically generate an SDS and labels for that substance. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate today. So first, to start authoring your SDS, you're going to want to give the material a product name and identifier. The identifier, you can use this for your own purposes. We have the flexibility built into our system so that you can use your own business rules to name and identify this product. You can give it any name and number you choose. Our system even accepts alphanumeric numbers, so you can see I've shown that here. You can also choose to fill in additional fields if you would like. So these fields down here, you can add information like reach number, issue date. It's going to have the CAS number in there. You can also provide uses for that chemical. You can also add synonyms so that it's easily searchable within our database. Likewise, you can also put reach uses within our system. So this is something typically that it's only required if the product is intended for distribution in Europe, but you can certainly use that if it's applicable for your situation. Next, you'll want to complete the manufacturer detail section, which is here. Manufacturer data typically includes name, address, and contact information. This information will actually automatically populate in these fields when the manufacturer information is available in our database. So you can see that you can actually type in a manufacturer's name in here, and our database will actually locate that for you and automatically input the data that we have in our system into those fields for you. So it saves you a lot of time. Next, or additionally, before I move on, in some instances you might want to add your own organization's details into the preferences of the system so that information is available for you to use from that point forward. So for instance, if you do that, you'll be able to type your own organization's name into that field and then select your organization and then have it automatically populate those details. Next, I'm going to move on to credit posterity. So this is where you're going to want to state the material's ingredients. So here I am demonstrating a pure substance, and this is acetone. You can see that I have actually added the substance in here, but you can also add additional substances, and you'll see that our system is smart enough that it's actually going to automatically try to predict the word or attempt to auto-complete the name of that ingredient for you. So for instance, if you wanted to add an additional ingredient into this to create a mixture, you can certainly do that. You can see that you can select from chemicals within our database. It's going to show you that CAS number. Likewise, it's also going to show you risk codes associated with that. Additionally, we can also have that show hazard codes. So depending on your jurisdiction or where you're located in the world, you could actually select this to be applicable for your own uses. So once you'll notice that you can add any additional chemicals. It's unlimited. You can have as big of a mixture as you would like, as long as it has compatible ingredients in the safe. Likewise, you'll see that you can add proportions. So you can see that I have 98%, but of course I could add an additional 2% of something else. Maybe that's water here. Well, that might not be applicable, but you see that you could do percentages or molarity. So some of our chemists like to use that particular feature. Likewise, you can see that you can add additional properties down here. So you can state, you know, whether that liquid is a solid, liquid, or gas. You could have the water solubility in there. You can see I have flash point, melting point, all of this information. Now, sometimes for pure substances, this information is going to be within our database and you can actually extract it into these fields. Other times when you're creating a mixture, you'll actually have to input this data yourself, but we do have tools that make this easy for you. So for instance, if I wanted to add a value in here, it's in Celsius, so what I can have that do is I can actually have that convert either from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So you can see that once I add that in, it will automatically convert that for you. And that's the same for many of these fields here. So you can see that that's also the same for vapor pressure. You can have this convert values from millimeters of mercury to kilopascals or pounds to square inch to kilopascals. So it's really versatile and useful in that way, and it allows you to add and enter this information very quickly. The next you'll want to do is you're going to want to review your ingredients and classifications within the system. So once the ingredient or multiple ingredients are entered into credit posteriori, the system is actually able to calculate the risks and codes depending on the applicable percentages or molarities that you enter or select. So you can see here that if the material exists in the database, the classification data will display by default the risk code data, but you can also have this show GHS information as well, and once you turn those on, it's going to show the appropriate codes for that jurisdiction. So you can also have classification and labeling on, and additionally this also gives you the opportunity to use our sanitize view feature, which gives you the opportunity to hide either proprietary ingredients or proportions of that chemical in that mixture. So you can see that you could maybe make this hidden and hide that from particular people within your organization, or if maybe you share items with an external organization, you can hide that from people externally from your company. So the next thing you're going to want to do is add toxicity and irritation information. So you can see here that you can add information regarding, you know, the route, the species that it was experimented on, the exposure type, and the value. This can be oral, dermal, or inhaled. Likewise, you have the environment, so you could add a new one and add this specific environmental information in here. Again, if it's within our system, it will actually automatically update that information for you so that you're not actually having to input that data. That's one of the powerful things about our software, is that it's actually able to do that for you. So you'll see here, this is another opportunity. Review classification gives you another opportunity to review and adjust the classification for each of your ingredients. This gives you the ability to either add or remove hazards or risk codes that are associated with individual ingredients. So you can see this pane shows all of the risk codes that were generated by the system for acetone, and then you might want to either add or delete some of those. So these are the ones that are generated, and then if you were to delete some of these, it will actually show the risk codes that were deleted, or you can even add additional ones. So those would fall under the user-defined category. So it really just depends on what your jurisdictions are and the codes that are applicable for either your region or country, but it gives you the flexibility to change, add, and edit those. Finally, to complete this document, you're going to want to give this this particular substance or mixture, dangerous goods information if it's applicable. Now again, for a lot of pure substances, you're going to see that our system has automatically filled in this information for you. In cases that it doesn't do that, you can certainly just fill in the UN ID number, and what it's going to do is it's going to actually search our database and then pull in information that we have that's associated with that UN ID. So either way, it makes it very simple and easy for you to populate these fields. Now once you're done filling out all of these sections, you're going to want to either submit this. Now this is something I pre-populated for the demonstration, so I'm just going to update this document, and whenever I push update, it's actually going to pull this document in over to the viewing pane on the right hand side. Now you can see for this demonstration that I've already pulled this up for us. This is a draft only, but you can see that it's actually filled in all of the information for us. I had minimal work on my side to get this document completed, but I do have another opportunity once this is in draft form to save it as a draft, or I can publish it. So you can publish it to your internal Credo queue, which it will save it, and then your fellow employees will be able to either view or edit that depending on their role and roles and permissions in your system. But it's good to note that you can have multiple versions of this document, and it can be edited, so you can return to this at a later date. Now once this document is completed, you can save this either internally to our system, save it to your folders, or you could print it, you could send it to a colleague, or you could save it to your computer. Now with all of our documents, this is our silver, consider our silver, but it acts very similarly to a gold, and you can actually change this on the fly to over 40 different languages, and you can also change the language and also the format, so as Nora showed you earlier. So it's pretty neat. So once this is published, again, I said that this goes to your Credo queue, so this gives you kind of a high-level view of what that looks like, and you can see that I've authored several documents, and they're in here. It's going to show you the hazard that's associated with that document, the material name that you have given it. It's also going to give you the version number, so you can see that from this viewpoint as well. When that was issued, it's going to have a catalog number. You can see all of the information associated with the document that you gave it, but in the background what it's doing is it's also generating other reports for you. So as soon as this is published, it's automatically going to produce labels, mini SDSs, SOPs, toxicological reports, environmental reports, PPE reports, and you can also draw from this information to create risk assessments. So it does a lot of things for you. One of the things that I'm going to use this to lead into my next tool is the labeling. So you can see that it actually automatically produces a label for you. You can view that in here. Nora briefly demonstrated this, so if you can see that that label is automatically generated for you once this document is published, or you could actually take that a step further by using our DGen labeling tool. So for instance, if you wanted to create a label, so you could use the information and the data within our database to create a label. Again, you can create them on the fly either through our home screen just by searching and then pulling up that label. Likewise, you can do that through Credo as I just demonstrated, or you can create a label in here within our labeling tool. So what I'll do is I'll add this to the list because this is the item that I'm going to demonstrate. Once I have this pulled up, you can use one like I'm using here, or you can even add multiple if you would like. You'll go to your gallery and you will select a template. So you can have either user-defined templates or you could create your own. So I'm going to use a user-defined template here. So you're going to see that it's going to have the label here, and you're going to see that it has parameters. You can also show a grid, so you can move these boxes around. You can also view it in preview mode, which is how I like to view it because you can actually see the information being pulled from the system onto the document, and you can add additional information that's relevant to your organization or your organizational goals. Likewise, this gives you the ability to add different graphics. So depending on your jurisdictions and where you are in the world, you might want to add different graphics to this, or you might even want to add information that's just specific to your organization. So you can see that we have some information here that you can draw from. So we have the DG diamond, we have some GHS graphics, hazard pictograms. So all of these are available for you to put onto the document. Likewise, we have all of our PPE graphics, so these are the same graphics that you would see on any of our goal documents, and those are available to you. Different hazard bars, or you can even upload images if you would like. This just gives you the ability to move this and customize it depending on your specific uses. Likewise, you can add different shapes, so you can add lines on there, or rectangles, so depending on how you would like that to appear. Some people are a little bit more specific on how, you know, visually appealing their labels are. So we have that option for you to add that. Likewise, we also have some additional field settings, so you're going to see that you're able to add batch numbers to this, expiration dates. I know that that is extremely important to people because, you know, if you have an older chemical that's been shoved back and isn't updated with the new GHS label, this allows you to create that very quickly, very easily with this labeling tool. And likewise, you can even add information to it so that it keeps you up to date, and then it keeps all of your workers safe. So this is just a brief overview of some of the things that our Credo tool can do for you, and also our labeling tool. But really, it's just as simple as harnessing the data within our database and then using that either to pull it in to author an SDS or to create a label. So that is basically our labeling tools, and I'm going to pass it off so that we can do our closing comments.
Great job, Gusty, as always. Well, we knew we were going to be a little tight for time on this presentation, and we wanted to show labels and how you can create secondary labeling and labeling for mixtures. So we kind of had to touch on SDS authoring, and we wanted to show you how easy that was. So we knew we were going to be a little bit crunched for time, so we're going to run a couple minutes over and let you go. I know you have things to do. We like to stay within our hour that you've allotted us, and we appreciate that. But one thing I did want you to notice about when she was doing authority is that she was able to grab the chemicals right off a list, so we didn't have to really actually type in a lot of stuff. So that made it very fast, very easy, and very powerful to use our system. Of course, the languages automatically plugs in the phrases. You can have us author your SDSs for you, but we have a lot of people ask us about labeling. We go to trade shows, they want to create secondary labeling, they have something on the shelf already, the label's getting faded, they want to mix two things together, and now you have to have a GHS label on that product. You store it overnight, you put it on the shelf. So we have a solution that can make that so easy for you. I want to ship things from another country, turn to Chemwatch, we can do that for you. The Pure Substances Library, you saw Gusty kind of leverage some of that. Kind of going to have to blow through these slides. You will get a copy of this slide deck in your email. So if there's something you're interested in, just review it back. And you also get a copy of the recording of this webinar as well. Our labeling tool is super powerful. It's kind of like PowerPoint on steroids tied to a database. So when you saw Gusty kind of briefly going through it, I hope you will capture that basically anything you see, you can easily put on a label, multiple languages per label, barcodes, PPE, graphics, anything you can think of, drums, barrels, bottles, pull out labels that fan out as you pull them away from the product, anything can be done in our system, and everything is live linked with the data, so if a regulatory piece of information changes, the next day you can print the label and it'll be current again. So that being said, my second to last slide is basically saying that, because you attended today, we're going to extend you a free 30-day trial. It was a short e-learning tool, or you can call up, myself, Tom, Nora, or Gusty will help you if you get stuck. And with that tool, you'll get basically create labels for 5 SDSs. And also, you can trial our system at any time. If you say, well, I really don't need the labeling or the SDS, but I do like the SDS management, we're happy to set you up with a trial. Because we're web hosted, it's very easy for us to deploy a trial such as that. So, just get a hold of Tom or myself, Gusty, Nora, and we're happy to arrange that for you. So because we're running a little tight on time on our question and answer session, what I thought we might do is go ahead and let everybody, go ahead and, let us run a couple minutes over, I guess. But send us an email, or you can simply reply to the email we'll be sending you with the recording and the PowerPoint from today's presentation and ask a question there. And then what we'll do is we'll compile all the questions together and then send those out to everybody so you can see perhaps what other people had questions about. We are more than willing to stay after right now, and so if you want to submit question via the question box, we're happy to provide live questions. We, the four of us are going to stay on as long as required. But we do want to be mindful of your time, and we appreciate your joining us today. So if you'd like to go ahead and call it a day, just look for our future emails, and we appreciate your attendance. If you want to submit questions, we're happy to sit here and answer it as long as it needs. Anyway, anybody else on my team have anything they want to add?
No, thank you everybody for attending. But actually, Paul, I do have a question that was just sent in.
Great.
The question is, I need to find any chemicals that contain a specific name, not a CAS number or part number, but a name. For instance, crystalline silica. Is there an easy way to search for products that contain this chemical?
I can show that, Tom.
Great, thanks, Nora.
Paul, can you pass the screen over to me?
Baton has been passed.
All righty. All right, so I believe you said crystalline silica.
Yes.
So what you would do, yes, you can definitely do that. There's actually two ways you can do that. First of all, you can type in the name of the chemical. And you can see what the CAS number is. So one thing you can do is you can go ahead and write down the CAS number here, or you can go ahead and click on the product. First, I'm going to do it the way that where I click on the product. My system is set to bring up that document immediately rather than the list. But in this particular case, I want to see it in a list. So I'm going to click the back button so that I go back to the hit list for that chemical. And then there you can see it's there. So one thing you can do is you can right-click on that chemical and you can say ingredients in. And what the system is going to do is it's going to look for a list, look for all of the products where this is one of the ingredients, and it's going to bring that up for us. And there that is. Mine has come in sorted backwards. You can sort these fields by this underlined column here. So whenever you'd like to resort a list, you can either sort an underlined column, or sometimes there's a little tag here that you can use to sort it. So you can see mine came in backwards. I could resort it by clicking on material name. And then there's a second way you can search for an ingredient in products. And this one you do need the CAS number, but I was able to grab it on that last screen. So I'll click on this little plus sign, choose ingredient in, and then I type in the CAS number. And then I can do a search for any product where this CAS number is included as an ingredient. The list is going to look different because this way it comes in sorted alphabetically from A to Z. So this is the same list, and if I sorted it in the backwards direction, you'd see the same products there. So those are the two different ways that you can search for a product that is found within other materials, other products. All right, do we have any other questions?
Another question just popped up is they want to take a vendor SDS and print a mini SDS. And so that's a little tricky because of the data extraction.
Right.
If we had the gold SDS for that, that would be easy. But go ahead, Nora.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Basically, a mini SDS is pulling off of a gold SDS. If you do have a vendor sheet, you can't pull off a traditional mini SDS with all of those fields filled in. We are in the process of a project where we're extracting more complete information off of vendor sheets, and hopefully as part of that project we'll also be able to do that. But at this moment, the gold SDSs are the ones that you can use to produce a mini SDS.
Yeah, that's a good answer. And another question we had is, how does Galleria Chemica compare to Arial or Lolly databases? What I'd like to do is I'd like to answer that and get back to everybody with a more technical definition of exactly how many lists and things. We do a little better internationally because we are, Australian based, and when you're Australian based, the Pacific Rim, Japan, the European, all that stuff we tend to be very strong on, as well as our US stuff. I don't want to downplay that and upplay our European Asia Pacific databases. So what I'd like to do is send out some better granular data on that in the future. So I'd like to not ignore that question, but I'd like to get a little better stuff you can kind of get your hands around.
But Paul, I can answer a little bit right now. Basically, okay, compared to Aerial and Lowly, our regulatory database is on the same platform as our SDS Management module and our Inventory Management module. You don't have to sign in to another application. You don't have to create a user interface between the two so you can log back in and out of the two. It's a click away. Also, our regulatory granular data from that 4,800 plus regulatory database library, that data is linked at the ingredient level to our SDSs. Aerial and Lowly do not do that. Oh, and one last thing, we have more data. We have 4,800 plus. No one has that many.
Yeah, that's a good point, being the same platform, Tom. I totally blew that one, so thanks for picking up my slack. Because that's a nice feature. When you're in our system, everything is a click away. And when you saw Nora actually do the tag to alert you, so if a reg changes, our system will automatically tell you, because that's the beauty of having the two packages seamlessly integrated in one solution, as opposed to separate log in, log out, trying to copy paste. It's so much nicer in our system because it's so integrated. Last question is, how are your products priced? I appreciate that one. The nice thing about our solution is because we're software as a service, it's very easy for us to scale. So our products are very, very reasonably priced for somebody who just needs a few chemicals. But yet, if you're a very large company, multinational company, Saudi Aramco, Alcoa, they have, hundreds of locations worldwide. So, we can scale to the very large, complicated international, corporations, or you may just be a small firm with just a U.S. presence and you just need to manage some SDSs. So our pricing is proportional, which gives you the benefit of our, very powerful solution without having to pay, for all of it. You just pay for what you need. So.
And as Paul mentioned, it's scalable. So, for instance, you can add a site or extra chemicals basically by, quite frankly, giving us a call. If a PO is in place, we just add them, and within minutes, that site's active.
That's a great point. So, well, I guess, wait a minute, there's one more question came in. You want to grab that one, Tom? How can you utilize, or can you? Yeah.
Your regulatory data, can you utilize your regulatory data to screen my own list of chemicals? Nora showed you that tagging function. So you're able to pick a set of regulations and flag those against your list of chemicals. So for instance, you might have the OELs for benzene for Mexico as an example. You can tag that and call it Mexico benzene OEL, and it will, any chemical in your collection that's affected by that regulation will be tagged.
And you'll be alerted too. So,
yes.
And Nora's kind of showing that on the screen right now. So, yeah, our tagging feature is very powerful. It's only about 6 or 8 months old. So it's a feature we released not too long ago. And when people see it, they're just constantly just blown away at how powerful that is, and that you're actually turning the power of the system back on itself. It knows you have data. It's basically has a regulatory database, and basically it's just kind of watching things all the time on your behalf. So it makes you look good without having to do anything. Well, very good. Nora, do you want to add anything? Tom, you got anything?
Sorry, I had to come back and unmute myself. No, that's all I've got, and I just want to thank everybody for attending.
Yeah, definitely thank everybody. Well, on behalf of the Chemwatch team, we're going to go ahead and sign this thing off. And do look for our emails in the future. Like I said, if you have any questions and answers, please submit those. And you can just reply to our email, whatever you'd like to do. And we will put everything together and then kind of come up with an email. We'll send that to everybody so you can kind of look at other people's questions. Because a lot of times I learn a lot from other people's questions. I might not have thought of it, but then I'm like, well, hey, that's a great question. So we're happy to do that for you. that all being said, thank you for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day.